Who's ready, Bills Mafia? It's the Bills Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Buffalo Bills, every week. Breaking down the big hits and game-changing plays the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So gear up and squad up. The Bills Squad show starts now.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, your host of Locked On Bills, live with Jerry Ostroski for Bills Squad. Very excited to be reunited with Jerry. We're missing Jeremy today. Jeremy had a scheduled absence, and we'll miss him, but we'll all be back together starting next week. Pretty much, we feel like the rest of the way here as the season is here. Bills training camp is underway, and so our idea today is to get into the early training camp storylines. There's already things that are developing, and I got some stuff I want to ask Jerry about. And then later in the hour, we're going to bring on Zach Cohen, who works for FanDuel, and he's a uniform insider. We're going to talk about those red helmets, and we're going to talk about the Rivalry Uniforms. Maybe he's got some scoops and some nuggets on that. So excited for today's show. Excited for you to be here. If you're part of the live audience, thank you so much. Fill up the comments section. Let us know what you're thinking. Drop your thoughts, your takes, your questions. Like the video. All of that is so helpful, and we love the engagement. Jerry O, it's good to be back on with you. Before I formally welcome you onto the show, I do need to say that this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Jerry Ostroski, the Hall of Famer, welcome in.
What's going on, man? I almost put out a missing persons report for you. When you see somebody every day on the internet, whatever, every day, Joe has an everyday presence, and then he disappears for 7 days, man. It's like weird, dude. It's definitely different, but no, great to have you back, Joe. Glad that you and our offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, are on the same page with the Everybody Eats, the custom Everybody Eats stuff.
I gotta send you one. Send you one, man.
Joe with the T-shirt, Joe Brady with the hat. So excited, man. We celebrated a national holiday yesterday. Buffalo Bills 2025 season has begun officially, and it's a good thing.
Well, I'm excited to go on this journey with you through this season, talking the Mafia through it, and of course with Jeremy as well. And as you mentioned, the 2025 season is really underway. I know we talk about OTAs and mandatory camp, but this is really where this roster starts to take shape. And I teased you. I sent you a text earlier and said, hey, I got a little something I want to ask you at the beginning. You want to be put on the spot, or you want to have some time to prepare? And you left it up to me. And I like putting people on the spot. I like the authentic reaction. And so we have a lot to get to today, but since it is the very beginning of training camp, and I don't take for granted that you played in the league for as long as you did and has as much experience, and you've kind of had the story that you did as a late round pick that got cut a couple of times for teams that really weren't ideal fits. You find your home in Buffalo. It's an unbelievable story. And this is my question to you. Sean McDermott called you up and said, you know what, Jerry, you have an unbelievable story. Late round pick, cut twice, comes to Buffalo. You're entering a situation. You're in a really good team, right? You're coming right out of those Super Bowl years. What if we had you come in on day one to talk to our team, and he wanted you to deliver that player's mindset, to have the right mentality for training camp? A lot of guys, right? 91 players competing for 53 spots, competitive. It's a good football team. It's going to be hard to make. What would you get up in front of that football team and say?
I think the biggest thing that I would talk about is this: the minute that you roll out of bed and your feet hit the ground, it's a fight. It is a fight from that moment until you take your feet off the ground and get back in bed that night. Professional football is not for the faint of heart, and complacency kills dreams. And if you want to play in this league, you have to understand it's not just about talent. I say it all the time. I can't even count on two hands how many players walked through that door that were athletically better than I was, but they didn't understand what it was like, or didn't understand how to be a pro. And you got to learn how to be a pro first before this whole thing happens. I mean, your talent's going to only take you so far. And, we talk to young kids in high school about going to college and the percentages of of kids that make it to college football from high school, because it just gets harder and harder, and it's that funnel effect. The funnel's wide at the top, but it's really narrow at the bottom. So my message to the football team is fight. I mean, you got to wake up every day and fight if that's what you want. It's just like anything in life. You fight for your family, you fight for your friends, you fight for what you want. And that type of passion has to come through if you're going to make it in that league, because it is not easy.
Now, what always interests me about the dynamics of an NFL training camp is exactly what you said, but foiled against, you got to bond with these people, right? These are your teammates. They need to be your brothers. How do you balance fighting and, it's a harsh reality of like, I need to be better than you to earn these roster spots, but also let's go play cards that night, or dominoes, or Catan,
Right.
or let's go get ice, whatever you guys do.
Right.
How do you kind of foil that? Is it just is it like an unspoken thing that everybody just understands, or is it kind of weird?
It's an unspoken thing, but I think the biggest word is not necessarily friendship. The biggest word is respect. You got to have respect for the guys that are in the locker room, because they're trying to do the same thing you're doing. It's like any job, Joe. It's like what we do as content creators. It's like what I did in medical sales. We're all out there trying to do the same thing. So to show up and be, a rear end is not conducive to the situation. You've got to show up and you have a mutual respect for people, because they're trying to do what you're doing and you're in the same industry. But at the end of the day, you don't have to be friends, but you do have to show respect for others. And that's the big difference, because, I've probably got 3 or 4 guys. I played 8-9 years in the league. I was there a long time, from 02 to 2002, or 92 to 2002. And probably got 3 or 4 dudes I might still talk to. And it's just different. It's a different aspect than, say, like college football, where you're living in dorms together, you're living in apartments together, you see each other all the time, and there's these forced friendships and team camaraderie. That's a big deal, and Buffalo obviously has figured it out. And it's funny, because as we creep upon Marv Levy's 100th birthday, and recently did some interview stuff for that coming up, and there'll be some pieces coming out, but it's crazy to me that from the Super Bowl years to now, the end of the drought and where we are, Sean McDermott and Marv Levy have a lot of the same attributes as coaches. And a big part of that is built upon the respect of the fellow man and the respect of each other in the organization, all the way down to the dude that scrubs the carpets and cleans up the tape at the end of practice. And that's a big deal. So I think friendship's probably a little bit of a stretch. Like I've said in the past, tongue in cheek, being funny, but it's true. You don't make friends with anybody till about week 4 or 5, because, rosters change all the time. But it's not necessarily a friendship. It's a mutual respect, because you're both trying, or you're all trying to do the same thing.
Reflecting on your journey with the Bills, and is there a player that you could point to and would like to highlight right now that, hey, that first training camp, those first couple of training camps, like they were intentional about helping you, and somebody that you maybe looked at and said, I need to do what that person's doing because they have it figured out?
Said it many, many times. The most professional player I've ever played with was Kent Hull. The day that I walked through the door, Kent took me under his wing. He didn't have to, but he did. Jim Kelly was the same way. I remember a story. I was a scrub. I was on the practice squad trying to make it. It's the off season. I'm at my locker, showered up, getting ready to go back home after an off-season workout, and Jim Kelly walks in and says, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend?" Nothing. He goes, "Well, you want to go to Toronto to the IndyCar Grand Prix? We're hanging out with Al Unser Jr. and Team Penske." Well, little did Jim know that was my favorite.
Yeah,
I'm like, sure, and you go and have an unbelievable experience. But I would say, as far as my position goes, just day one, Kent Hull was an amazing, positive influence in my career. And, all the things you heard about Kent were true. I mean, he was that guy, because, again, I talked about it earlier. You got to learn how to be a pro. There was nobody that was more of a pro's pro than Kent Hull was.
I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that we want to get into all the things happening right now, but forgive me, I've got a 100-game starter that I get to talk to. I'm going to pick his brain about football things. So you'll have to forgive me. I don't think anybody does. I think people love when we get into that stuff, and really grateful for you being open and honest and sharing your stories. So Let's get into what's going on at Buffalo Bills training camp. And I think we got to talk a little James Cook. I don't think we could do a show without talking James Cook, but there actually is new information. So I can appreciate that we're not just continuing to speculate. He's there. And not only is he there, he's fully participating. The night before camp, you saw some national insiders saying it remains to see how much he's going to do. Well, he's doing everything. And we've heard Brandon Beane talk about James Cook. We've heard James Cook talk about the situation. And I think some highlights from listening to Brandon Beane, he says, I love James Cook, want to draft, develop, re-sign. It's a business. We have to fit everyone in with the cap. You can't just go to the websites and, piece it together. There's long-term cap that we have to be mindful of. And he said, look, ultimately, I hope that I'm here next year. And James Cook is getting ready to practice for the Buffalo Bills. But, stop short of saying, hey, I'm hopeful or anything like that. He just kind of talked about the dynamics in play. And then James Cook meets with the media literally just before we went live here and talks about how he'd love to finish his career in Buffalo, but also talks about he wants to get what he deserves and that he'll get it. And he has to, of course he has to be there because he owes it to his teammates and all these types of things. So when you listen to Brandon Beane, when you listen to James Cook, like where does it put your mind in where things are right now and then maybe even the future?
Well, I think it's 50-50 whether he's in Buffalo or not. Now, that same press conference, he talked about some things, and something that I was recently discussing was he understands his only bargaining chip he has is what he puts on film this next season.
Yeah.
And he even brought that up in the press conference. Hey, the thing that I have is I can go out and show what I can do. Talked about wanting to be more involved in the passing game and those types of things. Not just running the football back. So I think the negatives that have been talked about this offseason in his game, he has heard loud and clear, and he is addressing them as they come up. But, it's, as you said, Joe, this is a guy that basically said, whether I get it here or get it somewhere else, I'm going to get, keyword, what I deserve. And, that's the rub, right? That's the talking point. What does he deserve? Even when someone asked the question, where do you see yourself as far as backs in the league? He's like, I'm one of the best in the league. I agree with that. He is a good back. He is one of the best in the league at running the zone and doing a few other things. But is he Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, level? And that's what we'll find out. And I think this season will be a big, big reason as far as he'll get what he wants or what he doesn't, doesn't get what he wants. So, but yeah, I mean, I thought he answered everything truthfully and did what he was supposed to do. And I mean, what do you want him to do? Step up there and not be confident? I mean, if he wasn't confident, he'd get grilled for not being confident. If he's arrogant, or I shouldn't even say he wasn't arrogant, or if he was confident, he's going to get grilled for doing so. He's really in a lose-lose situation, but I thought he did a really good job of it. And I'm glad to know that he understands the best thing he can do is put it on film and then let the chips fall where they may.
I hope that we're now at a point in the James conversation where it's just like, it just has to play out. We don't have to speculate. Like, he's there, he's working. They're going to play games. We don't have to sit there and say, oh, well, we only got 8 carries this game. I mean, what does it say? Or you got 25 carries this game, but what does it say? Like, let's just be normal now. He's the running back for the Bills.
Right.
I don't think an extension is going to happen anytime soon, and we'll see what happens after the year. But kind of one of my thoughts now is just generally regarding extensions, and you and I had a little chat in the pre-show, and you invoked the Connor McGovern situation into it as well. And Beane had some comments on that as well, where it's like, hey, I love to keep everybody, it's got business has to work out, et cetera, et cetera. But when I do consider all of the many contract extensions that Brandon Beane has gotten done, I feel like the resounding feeling that I have is, wow, I that feels like a really good value that came under the projections that came under, where people were thinking he was going to get paid. And when I think about the guys that he didn't get an extension down, whether that's Tremaine Edmonds or, the dangling situation here with James Cook, or even Mac Hollins is a player that got more than I thought he would. It's always like, well, yeah, I don't think the Bills should have paid that player that much money. And where I get concerned about James Cook and even Connor McGovern to an extent, based on what Connor McGovern said on the film room with the Cover One guys, that they had conversations, it's tabled. He'd love to stay in Buffalo, but the business has to line up. Is these are players that right now are not willing to give the Bills the value contract that they typically get. And I worry that, look, if Bean has a line in the sand, like this is the valuation that we put, like, I don't think he budges. I really don't. It seems like there's always value in extensions, and I don't get the warm fuzzies that Cook or McGovern are ready to give the Bills the value that they typically get.
No, I agree. And let me put it to you this way. Let me ask you this question because of the evaluation and the amount that you understand as far as players and how they fit in other places. If you really look at the guys that extended, and we talk about Greg Rousseau, we talk about Terrell Bernard, we talk about, Benford and all these guys that have extended at cost-friendly contracts, Spencer Brown being another one. Do these guys maybe have question marks as far as how they fit with other teams in the NFL? Benford, while he didn't get the love that he should have gotten in the executive poll that Jeremy Fowler puts out, I'd say probably he's the one guy that has maybe no question marks, but understands that his really, really good play maybe is more predicated with the system that he's in as opposed to just being an absolute freak. But if you look at Rousseau, you look at Bernard, Spencer Brown now, the back has come back. Are these guys that maybe probably would have gotten the same type of money if they tried to go elsewhere? And they said, you know what, we've got a good thing here in Buffalo. Let's go ahead and just stay because we fit this system. Plus the Bills organization understands who we are. I know these guys came back for these friendly contracts, but sometimes I wonder if they, players are smart. Players are smart. They do their homework. They understand things. Maybe they felt that the risk to go put themselves out there was worse than staying for a little bit less money than people thought they should have got.
I think it's a fair angle. We got a lot more to get into. Coming up next, we're going to talk about getting punched in the face, training camp fights, the Spencer Brown back situation, O-line depth, punters, punt returners, so much, folks. Be sure to stick with us. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled up with breakouts, busts, and all the overreactions that we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. This year I'm playing, of course, on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran that's making your millionth league. I've used Fantasy with Yahoo for years, and I love how smooth the draft day experience is. And our league's been running through Yahoo for a while now. It's easy to set up. The app is awesome. And the smack talk hits just a bit different in the message boards. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo is dropping 28 big new features over the next 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And that actually all begins on August 4th. So stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. It's Bill Squad. Joe Marino, Jerry Ostroski, Jeremy White off today. We are reflecting on early training camp storylines, and we'll be heavy into that for the next 30 minutes or so. Then the last 15 minutes, Zach Cohen of FanDuel is coming on to discuss Bills uniform stuff. We're talking about everything we know and don't know about the Bills uniform situation in 2025. And Jerry, a little skirmish today out there. It was a little bit of some reporting that AJ Epinesa, who'd he pop in the face? Was it
Jackson Halls? And
then it was like a big nothing burger.
Right, it was a big nothing burger. I wish Jackson would have went back at him. I'm a fan of some of that stuff, especially early. As my man Shorzy would say in one of my favorite shows on streaming networks, Shorzy, you got to set the you-know-what tone. And I would love to see Jackson Hall set the tone a little bit. But, hey, it's training camp. Like I said, if you're not putting your feet on the ground in the morning and fighting, what are you doing?
Well, I wanted to ask you just generally about training camp fights. I mean, I think how many camps you been to? 12? You participated in 12 training camps?
There's a bunch of them.
Are these, and of course that wasn't in the social media world, but are training camp fights really just generally nothing burgers? Did they say anything about a team? Is it concerning if there's not fights? Like, what is your players' take on training camp fights?
There's a couple different kind of fights. One, you got the overzealous rookie trying to make it who annoys the veteran, and then the veteran has to, knock the what out of them, and that settles down. Then you get week 3 or 4 cranky fight where vet guys are just cranky, and somebody pushes somebody late, and then you go ahead and you get a fight. And then you get these issues that actually can become very, very personal. And then you've got personnel in the locker rooms after practice that are still trying to de-escalate the situation. Now, those issues are usually DBs and wide receivers. That's when those fights usually take place. And actually, across the league, there's been a couple of those already that we've seen on social media. But yeah, so you got about 3 different types of fights. Most of them are nothing, but sometimes they can escalate pretty big.
If you're part of our live audience on YouTube, thank you for being here. Fill up the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. What's your big training camp thought right now? What's your big training camp concern? Love the interaction. Hit that like button. That always helps the channel so much. All right, let's get into some of this news. Spencer Brown back. He's not practiced the first 2 days of camp. Described as a back flare-up, something that they're trying to get calmed down. Bean even said that, hey, if it's a regular season week, maybe we could push it and get him ready to go for Sunday, but it's day 1, day 2 of training camp. We're not really going to push that stuff. Now, Spencer's got a bit of a history with back stuff. I was there a couple of years ago when I saw him, he couldn't even bend over to pick up his helmet. You can see he was really tight, and then he went to the trainers got around him, and then later on he's on the speed bike, cruising around St. John Fisher. You got a really good knowledge base of injuries and back stuff. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? And, obviously the Bills were pretty aware of Spencer's back history and still signed him to the extension. So they've got the information, they're staying committed, but is this anything to panic about?
I don't think so. Not yet. This is something we've seen before. As you said, this is something happened, I think, 2023 in the middle of practice. He goes off with the tight back. Just got to really make sure Spencer stays flexible through the hips. I mean, usually hip inflexibility is what leads to a lot of these back issues in these really tall guys, because what happens is it changes the pivot point. And what I mean by that is we're, as humans, are supposed to bend and flex at the hips. When we talk about player evaluation in the offseason, we talk about the draft. Deion Walker was a guy we talked a lot about this with. When the pivot point to get low becomes the lower back instead of the hips, it kind of becomes that analogy like a plastic spoon. You got a plastic spoon and you can bend it 50 times, but then on the 51st time it snaps, right? Mm-hmm. And you're taking the stress points away from the hips where we're supposed to bend, and now we're bending in the lower back, and that L4, L5, S1 area becomes compromised. So we know Spencer has had that. So I'm sure they're doing a ton of flexibility stuff with him, just making sure, because he's a guy that, even though he's long and he's lean, he muscles up pretty well. And guys that are heavily muscled are usually guys that have issues with flexibility and low back issues. So just got to make sure he stays flexible. I'm sure they're doing a ton of that work, as well as stem and everything else. Just getting him off his feet, getting that load off of his back and letting it calm down. And once that nerve isn't as mad as it is right now, he'll be back to where he should be.
Let's get that nerve to calm down on us. Now, I guess the silver lining anytime that a player doesn't practice is it opens an opportunity for other guys to step in. And on day 1, Tylen Grable got the opportunity to play right tackle. And then day 2, Ryan Vandemark gets that opportunity. Joe Brady met with the media ahead of the Thursday practice, and was asked about Tylen Grable and praised the athleticism and said, look, he's a guy that can play 4 spots. And he also said something that made me perk up, because I've been preaching the Tylen Grable gospel, man. I'm in on Tylen.
And I think I know what you're going to say, because it's the same thing I heard. So go ahead.
The quarterback piece.
Go ahead.
He said he's a guy that he played quarterback in high school. You know who else played quarterback in high school?
Lane Johnson.
Well, yeah, but there's someone else in particular that I'm thinking of.
Spencer Brown.
I don't think he did. I think he played tight end. The answer is David Edwards. What have I been saying about the transition?
Right. That is true.
If this happens, I don't think I have a lot of ego, But this is going to be a big ball spike for me.
Well, the other thing that he said that I thought was really good was he talked about his intelligence.
Yes.
He talked about how smart he is
Yeah.
and, deep thinker and all that, which, goes right in hand with offensive linemen. I mean, that's nothing new, but shows you kind of basically when a coach says that, he's telling you that the transition to other spots is not hard because they're very intelligent and can pick things up. So that also leads to your theory about the left guard spot.
I know nobody wants to talk about day 3 offensive linemen and developmental pathways. But I do. And I know you do too. But I mean, I just think this is a player that we need to start really taking serious as a very important depth player, but a potential starter for this line in 26.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. If Grable develops into that guy as an everyday starter, this is one of the better draft picks that Bean has made.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Because they did a ton of research to find this guy at UCF down in Central Florida.
Yeah.
They found him. They developed him. It's amazing to me that we still do these things in a world of instantly just going out and paying a bunch of people to come in and whatever, that they have picked the guy. They have done the work, found him, picked the guy, developed him, made him a starter. Amazing concept.
Tylen Grable played 2,808 snaps in college, all at left tackle.
Yeah.
So that isn't that fascinating where you might do the scouting report on a player and be like, man, he's left tackle only. He hasn't played any other spots. And 1 year into his NFL career, this guy could play 4 spots.
But why do we always pigeonhole the tackle spots and say that our right tackle has to be more of a Mahler type guy and our left tackle has to be this athletic ballerina? Can't they both be the same dude? I mean, can't you be athletic and move and that's what what I'm saying? You get.
I think we're waking up on that though,
right? Do you know the point I'm getting at? It's just I don't. Hey, we got to put our most athletic. Dude, it's like I tell you all the time. If I'm building an offensive line, the first dude I find is my center. Then I'll worry about everybody else. But it's I know not everybody thinks that way. But no, it's just weird to me that we were oh, well, if he's capable of playing left tackle, well, okay, so he can play right tackle too. It's the same thing.
Jerry, it's refreshing to hear you say this because a lot of people passionately disagree with what you're saying, and they're great NFL players. Joe Thomas famously said, if he had to play right tackle, it'd be like wiping your rear end with your other hand. It'd be really goofy. I asked Aaron Cromer about this. And I said, look, there's a stigma about, switching sides. And he says, and he doesn't believe in that at all. He says, well, what are you talking about?
Right.
He said, you play left tackle, you got to protect against the inside move, right? You got to slide your feet right. Just so I think so much of it's mental. I know that there's muscle memory and reps and you're going to be better, but I think a lot of it is a mental block where it's just oh, this feels weird. I do not have the resume that you do. Okay. But I played right tackle in high school. All right. We had one play where I would go to the left tackle spot and I always pulled and I had to kick out the corner. I was the best guy to do the job. And I remember that maybe 2 or 3 times a game where I did this. I remember I got over there and I was I feel like I'm in another planet, but I just knew that I was just going to go run and get the corner. So it's not
right.
I had to, but it felt mentally to me this feels like another world. So I can understand that. But if you get past that and just embrace it, I'm sure it's not the Everest that some people feel it to be.
2 things. One is this. Learn the way I learned in college, which is playing a strong side and a quick side. Because we played both sides of the ball. We would flip-flop due to formation. So even though I was strong tackle my first 3 years in college, I played on the right side, I played on the left side. So I got to learn both, and it wasn't traumatic, okay? The second thing is this, and John Fina is one of my best friends. And I would say this to John Fina if he were in the same room, okay? A lot of left tackles that say they can't play right tackle, it is egotistical because that is the quote-unquote premier spot, right?
Yeah.
It's the premier spot, and they have been the premier guy playing left tackle. And now you're telling them they got to go to the right side? Well, that's where the big lumbering unathletic guys play, Yeah. And it's and like I said, John is one of my best friends. But that's part of it. I mean, you're a left tackle, and you're kind of thought of as, you're the horse that they take to Churchill Downs. Okay, the right tackle's the guy they take to the field to plow to plant the cord, and it's just a different mindset. And Joe Thomas, I appreciate him. Unbelievable career, hell of a player. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was the guy playing left tackle, and it's hard to stomach going over to the right side sometimes. But to me, it's the same thing.
That's why I asked the questions, Jerry. You give us the truth, man. You give us the
same
truth.
thing.
And it's your career, I think, as a guy who played every position and had multiple years as a primary starter at every spot. I think I love that we can weed through some nonsense to get to the reality. So.
Well, just like Rube. I mean, if you'd have told Ruben, hey, you're going to have to play right guard, Ruben would have retired before that. Next thing you know, I look at the Chicago Bears and Rube's lining up at right guard, and he's killing people just like he did at left guard.
Man, him and Owen Fruitz, that was a good tandem, right?
Oh, that was just straight ass kicking every week. I mean, those two were rugged. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, until you do it, I know there's a mental side of it, but when you do it, it's not as hard as you think it is.
All right. Jerry, we might need to go 2 hours when it's you and I, because I'm like 3 bullet points. I'm 3 bullet points into what I wanted to get into.
I'm retired now, man. I ain't got nothing to do. Let's go.
Well,
I'm not the one that has all the shows like you do.
Well, see, you say you're retired, but this is a job. You're here. You're working.
It's true. Well, I'm flipping the bill for my country club, so
we got to keep you on the golf course. Keep Jerry happy. Keep giving us these
donate to the Jerry O GoFundMe golf course fund.
That's what it is. I consider that every time you show up. My personal
hey,
donation.
Pro V1s are $5 a piece now, man.
And that's why I don't hit them. That's why I don't hit them. Top flights, baby. No, I do. I'm a Callaway super soft guy. That's what.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like
not much swing speed.
I don't know. It's the one. I'm not a good enough golfer for it to matter, but I feel like my best swings and shots come whenever I play the Callaway super soft. So I just use it.
Yeah, I flip between Pro V1s, but I've gone to kind of the Callaway Chrome Tours because you can buy 3 dozen and get 1 free. So they last me about 2 weeks.
Before we get to break, we'll ask Jeremy about this next week. What do you think Jeremy hits? What's Jeremy's golf ball choice? First of all, do you think that he's that he has like his own, like he's always got to play the same ball?
Yes.
And then if so, what do you think it is?
Well, see, Jeremy, to me, part of me thinks he might wear knickers and play with an old style golf ball and a persimmon wood because it's it's historical. But no, I would say that Jeremy probably plays a Titleist.
You think so?
Some sort of Titleist. I would probably say Pro V1s, maybe Pro V1 X's, but he's either playing those balls or he's the guy that's the deep dive conspiracy dude that wants to find the golf ball that's just like a Pro V1, but it's not as much money. And he's done a tremendous amount of research on it to where he plays some off-brand ball that, is supposed to perform just like a Pro V.
I'll predict that he's an Encore guy. That's my take.
Yeah,
we'll see.
See, that's the same type. So you're leaning to the side of the golf ball that performs like the high-end golf ball, but okay.
That's my. That. We'll find. We'll get to the bottom of that next.
I'll go the other way and say place Pro Vs.
Right, we'll find out. All right, coming up next, special team stuff. Linebacker competitions, very fascinating. Cole Bishop, Maxwell Harrison, all of that. So, folks, be sure to stick with us. You ever wish that managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. When I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and I save more. It can be surprising to see how much certain spending habits can add up, and Monarch will make it easy for you to identify those things. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Joe Marino, Jerry Ostroski, continuing our conversation about many things, mostly Buffalo Bills training camp. But that's the fun of these roundtable, free-flowing discussions as we can sidebar and have some fun here. And hopefully we're doing a good job of that here today. Maxwell Harrison's got to earn it, huh? Trey White getting the early opportunities, but Maxwell Harrison getting sprinkled in. Obviously, I think I saw some commentary out of day one that it was like a 55-45 split. And so here's my take, and I'm curious where you're at with this. It would have been surprising to me if Maxwell Harrison was the first team corner from the first rep and took 100% of the snaps. I think that would have been a surprise. I think he's going to have to earn it. But do you wonder, like, what if Trey White really is closer to what Trey White was and makes it really difficult on Harrison? Good problem to have, but like, what's your pulse on this this early competition?
I don't want to play somebody just to play them because of where they were drafted. I want to play somebody that's going to get us over the hump to win games. So if it's Trey White, if it's Harrison, it does not matter to me. The thing that's exciting to me, Joe, and I've talked about this for so long anyway, it seemed to me that as soon as the season was over, a couple of free agent signings, who stayed, who left, you could write our starters in with pen, with permanent ink.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, there's a ton of competition, and it's not just guys we have brought in as far as veterans. The youth movement on defense, to me, was what was most exciting. And I said this in the past, Harrison's going to make mistakes. Harrison's going to get beat. But his athletic ability allows him to make up and cover up those mistakes. And if you saw that play he made in camp yesterday, he initially got beat on that route by KJ Hamlin. All of a sudden, Harrison flashes out of nowhere, dives, and knocks the ball down. That's exciting to me. That's different, okay? Assignment-wise and all that stuff, that comes. That other stuff is what you were born with, and he has it. And that's what's exciting to me anyway, is that the flash of athleticism and what he's known for and why he was picked in the first round came out in day one, and it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I loved what Sean McDermott said to open camp when he was asked about Maxwell Harrison, like what's important for him. And he said, play fast. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Go for it. We expect mistakes to happen. We'll make corrections after. I think and maybe there's some like lessons learned from the Kyer Elam story where, Kyer was probably coming in and thinking a lot, and, it took away from seeing the true skill set where he is a really good athlete. He has really good ball skills. But you didn't get a chance to see it because maybe he was looking over his shoulder and he just wasn't dialed in on just accepting that you're going to make some mistakes and like being coached through it. Where, with Harrison, they're saying, go for it. We expect mistakes to happen. We'll make corrections. But I mean, if you watch Harrison at Kentucky, that's an aggressive football player. And surely the Bills drafted Maxwell Harrison for the elements that he showed at Kentucky. And so I liked that messaging to kind of nudge and say, hey, dude, just go play, man. Go be the player that you've been, and we'll take it in stride.
Exactly. I mean, it's not a shock that McDermott and the staff is making him earn that starting position. I mean, that's their MO. That's what they do. They want to see you perform under fire, and once you do that, you prove to everybody that you can get the job done, then they move you in that spot. And corner is a tough position, really, really hard position, and it's one of those spots where if you don't have confidence, whether it be a quiet confidence like a Christian Benford or an outwardly confidence like Harrison has displayed, you're going to have a hard time being successful there. And Harrison's got that outwardly confidence. He is a guy that is boisterous. He puts it out there. He plays aggressive, like you said. And to me, anyway, that's the one thing that this defense has been lacking, is that kind of just a catalyst dude, a dude that just lets it all go. We've been very buttoned up, it seems like, over there. I know there's been a little bit of it, but we've been buttoned up. And defenses that are good, they got a bunch of dogs, a bunch of guys that aren't afraid to speak. And I love that about Harrison. Hopefully we see it out of TJ Sanders. I don't know how much we'll see of it out of Landon Jackson. He seems to be a little more buttoned up, but hopefully see it out of him. And that drags it out of the other guys. And it just will make that defensive unit that much better.
Yeah, defensive players, like a different mindset. I know I don't want to get into the old offensive players versus defensive players. I know
right.
But they're just wired a little different, right? It's everything is, offense, everyone knows where everyone's going. Defense is different. You got to have a little something different about you and I think every great player on defense has been what you're talking about, is a very eager, zealous, aggressive, different type of mindset.
Let me ask you this, and this is something that I noticed yesterday, and maybe I'm wrong. This is about Josh Allen. And, Josh has always been that figure and always been that guy. But this was the first year, comes off the MVP, just got married to Haley, all these things. His aura in camp and when he walked through the door, it's always been big, but he's in that command level now to me, like the league greats. Like, I know this is a bad word to say to people like Aaron Rodgers, like Peyton Manning, like some of these dudes. I know Mahomes probably has it. Ben Roethlisberger, when he walked through the sign above him and walked through the gate and stepped on the field, I know it's kind of hard to imagine his aura and his command being bigger than it's been. But to me, man, yesterday when he walked through, it was different. It was just different. The maturity, the energy, the command, it was pretty cool to see. It was something that stuck out to me anyway. I don't know about you, but it was different to me.
It's reigning NFL MVP. And that's every reason in the world to be able to puff up your chest a little bit. And I mean, I think that messaging really started last year from everybody, with McDermott being and even Allen himself, where this is where Josh Allen's the tip of the spear, right? That's kind of the messaging that they had. And he goes out and has a season that he does. And, like he's married. I think he's matured, right? This is 28 or whatever year old Josh Allen. It's a different cat at this point. And, I think everyone understands his status. I think he's confident in that. And one thing that I've been told before, and I think you can affirm this, is the highest performing athletes, and really most people in any job, one of the big common denominators is confidence, right? That's Josh Palmer is the one who told me that. Josh Palmer's done a lot of quarterback coaching with Josh Allen. And so that level of confidence, I think, is only a good thing for Josh to be able to settle into this chapter of his career where, he's multiple years into this thing. He's not a young guy anymore. And I agree with you. I agree with you that aura is a word that I don't think
it had that feeling of Neo when he finally saw the Matrix. You know what I mean? Like, we always knew he was the chosen one, but then all of a sudden he sees the Matrix and he's dodging bullets. And I know that's cheesy as all hell, but something I noticed yesterday I thought was pretty cool.
Real quick, it feels like we do have a legitimate backup quarterback competition. Mitch Trubisky, day one, got the QB2 reps. Day two, it was Mike White. I don't love either of these players. Do you have any thoughts on these guys? Is there one that you like more than the other? Is it just, please God, Josh Allen don't get hurt?
Well, that's always in the forefront. Please, Josh Allen don't get hurt. But if I look at these two, I look at White and Trubisky. One thing about backup quarterbacks, besides an understanding of the offense, they have to have something to them to be able to make, I think anyway, to be able to make some off-schedule plays and do some things that are a little bit different than just sit back there, pat the ball, and throw completions. That's why I probably lean towards Trubisky. I think Trubisky can run the ball probably better than White can. I think he can make some plays like that, a little more schoolyard. And I know that all backup quarterbacks, unless your name is Billy Joe Hobart, prepare during the week just like they're going to start.
Shots fired.
That's an old Bills fans reference. If you get that one, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, him and Todd Collins were the future. We're going to find out. It didn't work out.
So they all prepare like they're starting, but still, you're not getting the majority of the reps during the week. You're not getting the looks during the week. Your job is mostly to run that scout team. So you got to have a little bit of an ability to make some off-schedule stuff and make some stuff up. I think Trubisky gets the nod in that aspect. But again, then also, like you've talked about on your show, there is that salary cap consideration as well between Trubisky and White.
Yeah, he's got to be $1 million. But Trubisky has to be $1 million better than Mike White.
Right.
Well, I guess that's possible for that to be part of that conversation.
And then he also, even though that not all of them weren't great, Trubisky probably leads the way and starts in the league as well.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Yeah, he absolutely does. That's probably not even close. So yeah, the more experienced player as well. Let's talk a little bit about punt return. And you know me, I'm going to talk about punt returners. Day one, KJ Hamler got the first opportunity, got 3 reps. Then you had 3 reps for Brandon Condrington and 1 for Daquan Hardy. I don't have the specifics today, but we learned that Keon Coleman fielded some punts. We learned that Khalil Shakir fielded some punts. And one of my thoughts that I've had recently is, yes, Khalil Shakir is the relative to the Bills' #1 receiver. but he's also not a high volume snap player, and he doesn't play in 12 personnel. I think that I'm okay with Khalil Shakir being the punt returner because I feel like that makes sense. Like, I think that's where you can kind of offset where he doesn't play in some of those heavier personnel groupings to feel comfortable with him maybe getting that opportunity. Because like I said, I think this roster puzzle is very, very challenging if you're trying to put Brandon Codrington as the punt returner this year. I think you have to find it in another way. And I'm open to Khalil Shakir. Maybe some people will be like, no, he's an important player for the offense. You can't play him in that role. But I don't really feel that way because he's not necessarily a high volume snap taker at the position.
Right. Well, you also have to look at another area that was reported on today, and I can't remember who put it out there on Twitter. I was trying to find it, but Elijah Moore's been getting punt and kick return work as well.
Yes.
And I think that, honestly, to me anyway, in a perfect world, he would take that job over. That keeps Shakir on the bench. Elijah Moore did it in college. I think you had said he had 70-some returns.
78, yeah, including fair catches. Including fair catches.
Had 78 opportunities in college. So he's done it. He can do it again. I just don't see on this roster. And we talked about Chenault, but he's on the PUP list. He's not participating. So it's going to be hard for him to break through not being out there. But it's one of those deals where I don't know if this roster can handle a guy that does nothing but catches kicks. So to me anyway, whether it's Keon Coleman, whether it's Shakir, whether it's Moore, whoever, somebody that's a piece elsewhere, I think has to take this job over just because of roster number considerations.
All right. Coming up next, all the uniform conversation that you can handle, red helmets, standing buffalo, the rivalry stuff, what the Bills can and can't do with uniforms. We've got a uniform insider coming up next, folks. Be sure to stick with us. Bill Squad, Joe Marino, Jerry Ostroski, and we now welcome Zach Cohen of FanDuel. He's a uniform insider, does the TikTok coordination for FanDuel. And Zach, it's good to have you on. You want to make sure you unmute your mic. I can see the icon there. And let me just say this. And there's feedback coming.
Yeah, big feedback coming.
Yeah, I think. Give me one second. We're live, and I'm going to fix this. All right, I think I fixed it. Yes, I did.
Yes.
Okay. I fixed that. Wow, look at that. People, the haters are furious. They never would have thought I'd been able to figure that on the fly. Zach, welcome. And I'm glad that the camera zoomed in like it did, because we don't want to see the Jalen Waddle jersey and all your Dolphin stuff behind you.
He's got Philadelphia Eagles right behind him.
He does, but I know Zach. I've known him for a long time. I know where the rooting interest lies. So we'll welcome you, but we'll also boo you here a little bit for your Dolphins fandom. Thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I will not. Maybe I will. I did bring a little prop.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Not my favorite Marino, though. That goes to you, Joe.
Thank you.
For a while now. You are the only Bills content that I consume regularly, so I appreciate that. And I will put my Dolphins fandom aside to put my uniform hat on, because there's a lot of cool stuff happening with the Bills. So I'm happy to be here, talk about that, what we know and don't know.
I want to know, is he not covering every championship known to man in the screen right now? He's got a University of Florida hat on. He's got a Florida Panthers shirt on. He's got Eagles behind him. I mean, do you like the Dodgers as well? I mean, yeah. I have to know. Ohio State. Anybody that wins, is that your team? I have to ask you that question.
No, this Eagles jersey actually I got at the link maybe like 10 years ago. They had these game worn ones on sale. This one was $30. Thought I was getting a deal. Ended up being a practice squad player, maybe played like 2 preseason games, but too big for me at the time, so I framed it. I forget his name. I think his name, ironically, is Darryl Green, but it's clearly not that Darryl Green.
Not the Darryl Green.
No, I got some other ones up here too. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson. That Jalen Waddle one, it's actually Ryan Tannehill too, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. Forget about the great 17s of the Miami Dolphins. I know we brought you on here to talk Bill stuff. Could you hold up that Dolphins mini helmet again?
Yes.
I have a Dolphins take for you. That's the best logo that they have. That one. No, that's not it. No, that is it. The cartoon. That's not the cartoon one, is it?
I have the cartoon one.
Yeah.
Count to four. Count to four.
The 1, 2, 3 Mississippi. Yeah, that's not it. The other one is the best Dolphins logo, and all of the stuff that goes with that is the best look.
Look,
if you're wondering why the playoff win drought is now at 24 years, I will point to the uniform decisions that they've made.
Oh, thanks for reminding me. No, we've lived in mediocrity for a long time. You know, it's funny because I could kind of tell you my favorite thing about each helmet and like why I like the current ones, why I like the Ronnie Brown era ones. But whenever I see this helmet, I think of mediocrity. And then when I see this helmet, I'm like, I don't want these back because I have such a good, feeling about them. That if I see more of them now, that could ruin how I think about these. And that's kind of my argument for bringing back older uniforms.
I've never heard that argument. It's decent. All right, let's talk about the Bills, man. People are going to get out of here. They're like,
I got one. I got one.
There. We found the one piece of Bill stuff in your house. All right, red helmets are back, and you were instrumental in me sorting out my own thoughts on this. You and I were DMing back and forth for several days as kind of the information came out. And the one thing that you immediately said is, all this stuff about filing and all that, and if they didn't file for something new, so it had to be an old helmet. I don't want to – you can explain this better than I can, but what kind of peel back the layers there on how you kind of knew that it was going to be the red?
Absolutely. I mean, the process to start for applying for new helmets actually starts at the beginning of the league year. Here's the thing. So for teams that wanted a new helmet in 2025, for the 2025 season, that had to start at the 2024 start of the league year. So teams like the Bills, for unveiling this one this year, they had to start that process last March because a lot of it goes, first off, it takes way longer than 3 or 4 months to come up with the design, lay it out for merchandisers, get retailers and wholesalers all in that. Because that's the big part of the process, right? Is, all right, we're going to come out with this. How are we going to roll it out? What do we need? And more importantly, what do we need to take away from our current closet? I'll give you an example. The Bucks, that white creamsicle was the worst kept secret in the world. The reason I bring that up is because they knew that would be one of their 4 uniforms. So the NFL, as currently their policy outlines, that teams can only have 4 possible uniforms to wear in a single season. Your primary home, your primary away, and then 2 alternates. If it's 2 throwbacks, 2 new things, whatever. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a team that in the last season, they got rid of their all pewter look, knowing that they were working on that all white creamsicle. The reason that applies to the Bills, and this is where there's some things we know for sure and some things we don't know for sure. Things we know for sure, they will be wearing the red alternate helmets with the blue primary jersey and the white pants. Last game of the season, last game in the old stadium, very fitting. They're also bringing back the standing buffaloes. All white, classic, clean look. I know I said I'm a Dolphins fan, but I love that look too. That'll be week 6 in Atlanta, and then week 11 home against Tampa Bay. So that's 2 uniforms right there.
Can I pause you right there? Yeah. Does that mean that when they play at home against Tampa, it's going to be the white jersey and not the blue? Would that count against the quotas here?
Right. So everything we've seen is that they won't pair the blue home jersey with the white standing buffalo helmet. I guess technically they could be, but from what the Bills released, it sounded like that was going to be the full uniform.
But there's the blue throwback jersey.
Right.
It's going to be the white throwback jersey with the standing buffalo.
I would imagine. Okay. And the reason is because this is a uniform that they've already worn in previous years. Josh Allen's worn it before. So just taking that and putting it back into their uniform closet this season is a pretty simple process because it already went through the whole process. They just got to talk with the retailers and confirm with the league, like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We can start rolling it out. If it was going to be a blue jersey, I would imagine that they would have unveiled that already with the unveiling a couple days ago with the red helmet and the blue jersey. So while it's not 100% certain it's not the blue jersey, the writing's on the wall that it's going to be the all-white look. So that'll be week 11 against Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay wanted to wear their orange creamsicles wasted on that game, they could. I don't know why why they would. The Bills are getting an all throwback game in Atlanta, though. I actually live in Atlanta, not a Falcons fan, but I will be at that Monday Night Football game to see the Falcons in the red throwback helmets, black jerseys, and the Bills with their standing buffaloes. So, but the reason, the big question that we've kind of been getting in the uniform community is, all right, so you got the primary homes, the primary aways, and the two throwbacks that they just announced. Where does that leave the red jersey? Do you guys like the red jersey?
No.
I like it if they wore the white pants with it, but they wear all red, and it's lost on me. And then when I say that, people say, well, it looks like the old Patriots uniforms, and I'm like, get the Patriots out of your head. But I don't. It's not my favorite.
You put an offensive lineman in all red, they look like Gossamer from Bugs Bunny. They don't work for me. It don't work for me. So let me ask you this: you say they can have 4 uniforms now, the Bills are scheduled to have a heritage, one of their on the heritage list. So how does that fit in with the 4 if it seems like we've already got 4?
Right. I'm glad you asked. So basically, that means that the red jersey won't be worn this year. Could still be a part of their style guide. It could easily be brought back in future years. Won't be able to be worn because NFL teams in previous years only allowed teams to wear 3 alternate games. Or at least that was the policy. The Eagles last year wore a black helmet, black pants, white jersey, week 1, and that was the 4th one. Damani Leach, the president of the Denver Broncos back in March, said, hey, teams can now wear, like NFL is going to allow us to wear the alternate helmets with the primary jerseys. So I think that wraps up the questions about like what the Bills can and can't do this year. The rivalry uniforms are called Rivalry. The NFL and Nike announced them specifically during the NFL draft. I'll try to keep this a little quick here because I've been tweeting about this for a while now. The leaks have been non-existent essentially up until like a week ago. Something that's been really cool about me doing this, I post a lot on Twitter, but my main following's on TikTok. I got over 50,000 followers. I've been posting and breaking news. I broke the news the last 2 years on which teams would be getting new helmets and new throwback jerseys. But one of the teams that we didn't hear about until later were the Bills. But we also didn't hear about the rivalry uniforms until the NFL announced them during the draft. And I'm not surprised because Nike, they're working with Nike. This is a Nike-run campaign. Nike wants to do 2 things. One, they want to keep the lid tight. God knows they're not letting anything get out about these uniforms, or so they thought. And the second thing, they want to release them all in bulk, and we're told they're not coming out until the fall. I can't imagine that they're not going to last longer. Like, these have got to come out like the week of week 1, right? Like that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right after Labor Day. That's what I imagine. The one thing I'm hearing about Bills uniforms, and I can't, this has opened a lot of doors for me doing this. There are some sources I trust. I put a lot of work in this. My journalism background at the University of Florida helps out a lot. The one thing that I heard, and I said when I post this, I can't confirm this, is that someone allegedly saw a top secret photo shoot in the Bills stadium with a white, silver Bills helmet. And there have been concepts about it. And then suddenly it's like the woodwork's opened, man. Like I got so many people telling me like, oh, I heard this too. Does that mean anything? I don't know. But when all these whispers start adding up on top of like what I've already heard, I think the Bills could be leaning into that Nickel City moniker.
I hope.
Yeah. Think about those Vikings Winter Warrior uniforms.
Yes.
Last year, right? No gold, just the silver and the white. Think about something like that for Buffalo. I'm not saying this is a certainty, but if I'm reading the tea leaves, and there are very, very few reading the tea leaves, I would be prepared for a Nickel City-based rivalry uniform for the Bills. Look, it could come out. It could be completely different. I think this makes sense. And again, certain things kind of add up. We haven't heard really anything about the other rivalry uniforms. So that's what I'm hearing about the rivalry uniforms, when they could come, what they could look like.
Do you have, as you've kind of live in this space and you've compiled information and you scoop up as much as you can, conceptually with these rivalry uniforms, that we're all very, very curious. And I think part of the curiosity is rooted in fear that they're just going to be a disaster.
Absolutely.
And like they can get really corny, if you're really trying to like highlight elements of your town, and it could just not really work for a uniform. As you've compiled information, are you gaining confidence or you're gaining concern for where just generally the direction of these kits are going to go?
I keep saying I'm growing cautiously more optimistic. The key word being cautiously, because everything we've heard is that, the NFL teams are going to have 4 uniforms, and then the teams with the rivalry, AFC East and NFC West this year, they'll have that extra 1. So they could have 5 potential alternate games, with that 1 being the rivalry. But these are going to be similar to the NBA and MLB City Connect uniforms in that they are, like you said, Joe, emphasizing the city, the heritage, and they could get wonky, which when I first heard about this and kind of reading more tea leaves on this, that's not what the NFL has been about. The NFL has been very, very strict in the past about protecting their team's brand image, teams not copying each other, doing anything too crazy. Now, in past years, like I've talked about, with all these alternate helmet pairings and whatnot, they become a little more lenient. The policies become more of a guideline rather than a definitive ruling. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to be super happy with these. There are certain now, like we're starting to see like little rumors and potential leaks. I'm not really buying anything credible about this. It hasn't come across my desk. But I would be prepared for something that's a bit too much. In worst case, they come out and they're beautiful. Great. We had low expectations. But if we're looking at what the MLB and NBA have done with their city uniforms, my expectations are very, very low.
Well, Major League Baseball's had trash ones as well. The ones the Phillies wear are grotesque.
Can't even tell what teams I'm watching sometimes. In a few games, I actually watch baseball.
Yeah. That's got to be discernible to me. Like I'm interested in. I love uniforms. Some comments on YouTube that are like, surprised that we're talking uniforms. You shouldn't be if you've been listening to me talk forever. I love the aesthetics of football. It's huge news for me. But yeah, I have a level of concern that these are just going to be goofy. And I don't know that I fully understand the rollout strategy here. There's got to be a lot of it. The concept has to be rooted in sales, right? Like they want to sell these things. And I think there's probably a lot of people that want to buy them. If they're not released until like the week of the games or whatever, like that feels like a goofy strategy to me. Like what are your thoughts on the rollout strategy and what are your expectations?
Yeah, my expectation is that it's going to be a bulk rollout for all the teams at once, similar to the Color Rush. This is basically, I wouldn't say it's Color Rush 2.0, but the strategy and the marketing campaign behind it sounds like Color Rush 2.0. So my guess, like if kickoff happens that first Thursday, who is it? Eagles, Cowboys, right? Whoever it is, and these uniforms haven't been announced yet, I'm going to be with you here, Joe. And like that seems like a miss, because if I'm a Dolphins fan and we don't have them until week 10 and we've only won 2 games up until that point, why would I want to buy this?
Right, right.
So
is that a prediction? Are 2-8 going into week 10?
I don't know. I don't really have expectation when it comes to the Dolphins anymore. Just see what happens. And, hey, maybe we'll win a playoff game. I said that about the Florida Panthers for years, and they haven't lost one in the last 2 years. So
you're welcome for Sam Reinhart. That was
thank you.
Glad we can contribute to that.
Yes. The Buffalo Sabres have been a very good what's the right word? Feeder team into.
Yeah. We've seen this. Was that the dude? Was it Riley with the Blues and Eichel and Reinhart and
the Buffalo Sabres are to the NHL what the Miami Marlins or Florida Marlins really have been to the MLB. They build up the prospects and just trade them out to the better teams.
Well, at least the Miami Florida Marlins, like twice in my lifetime, have geared up and went on a run, and now it crashes quick. But there's been 2 World Series championships, right, for the Marlins in my lifetime.
You know how many people care about that?
Zero. Zero.
People don't care. There's always like this. In my mind, there's always this like 20-year cycle of generations where it's like if you haven't won anything in the last 20 years, like it might as well mean really nothing. I know that kind of is a hot take, but I think and I'm going to tie this back to the Bills here. When the Bills came out with these red helmets in '84, a lot of people hated them. Most people hated them. And now the last 3-4 years that I've been posting about this, especially on TikTok, all the comments, much younger generation, are saying, we need the Bills red helmets back. We need them back. And I'm like, it just goes to show, like, you have this like 2 different generations, Bills fan that loves the red helmets and hates the red helmets. And that's really how sports works. A decade passes, you got a little bit of overlap. 2 decades passes, completely different opinions and approaches to everything.
It didn't Fred Smearless was like a legendary Bills player in the 70s and 80s. When they went to the red helmets, I think he said something about, are we going to start putting flowers down our pants?
Yeah.
And then they didn't have a lot of success, and then it changed, right?
It was Fred. Yes, it was Fred.
Did you know Fred?
Yes,
that was a little
Fred
before.
well.
Okay, all right.
I'll see Fred in a few weeks. He'll be up at Jim Kelly's tournament.
Well, I'll get a quote for us on the return of the red helmets and see what he says, and maybe we'll go viral. Anything for Zach, Jerry?
No, I was going to say probably, since we're bouncing all over the place, probably the greatest trade, top 5 trade in the history of the NHL would be Matthew Tkachuk to the Florida Panthers. I'm a Flyers guy. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, but I appreciate and really, really like the Panthers, and that's because of Matthew Tkachuk. He's one of my favorite players of all time.
Talking about the Florida Panthers on here today, I gladly will take 15 seconds to praise them because this was the team that, I could go. I had season tickets for a long time with my family. If we didn't have season tickets, what are you doing on a Friday? I got $20 to spend. Let's go watch a Florida Panthers game. Walk in there. There's 25 other people in there. Great. So, I've been a fan for a long time, and now the kind of big critique is everyone hates the Panthers. They have bandwagon fans. Bandwagon fans isn't a bad thing. You can't disrespect the loyalty, obviously, of the long, hard ones for me. My dad was there in '96 when they got swept by the Avalanche. Now, seeing what it's become, to me, I look around other sports, other fan bases, and I'm like, if the Florida Panthers can do this, there is hope for any franchise.
Well,
but there's hope for any other franchise.
I watched the Panthers. In the Spectrum in Philadelphia when former Flyers great Scott Mellenby was playing for the Panthers. That's when the whole rats on the ice thing started. Now you actually have the biggest rat in the league playing for you, which is Marchment. But besides 1A being the trade for Matthew Tkachuk, 1B being the fact that Florida has no state tax, now everybody wants to stay. The Sam Bennett likes want to stay in Florida. I'm sure that'll change here soon when everybody gets tired of the Panthers winning again, because they'll probably win it again next year.
Hey, man, that's a great problem to have. We love the hate. We love being relevant. It's a super fun team. And, kind of to make it another full circle thing with the Bills, the Bills have had history. Right. Haven't gotten there, but they've had that history. There was a lot of time in my life where they were just kind of there. And for a lot of people in the NHL, the Florida Panthers were just kind of there, So if the Panthers can do it, I have confidence in the team, especially now with the Bills. If I wasn't a Dolphins fan, Josh Allen would be my favorite player. I can't believe I just said that publicly. It's going to bite me in the butt. But, that's how it is, the division rivals, I never really get too worked up about my division rivals. The Bills, man, they got a good thing going.
Well, Zach, I appreciate you coming on. You mentioned the robust TikTok following that you have. Plug that, so if anyone wants to get in on these insights, obviously it's uniforms across the world. So let's hear your picture.
Yeah, look, I love making videos. Back when I was an unpaid intern at the Draft Network, I was
never heard of it. Yeah, never heard of that.
Yeah, no, know what it is. It's funny. Back when I was working with you guys, back on TDN Joe, my dream was just to be on a show with you or Trevor or Jordan, Ben, the whole gang. And I never in a million years I thought this would be a thing right now. But I love making videos. I clearly love talking too much. So I made a TikTok. I love it. It's a lot of fun. I post. It's kind of just become 90% uniforms, but I'm an NFL nerd at heart. So I try to litter other things in there. Mostly uniforms, any uniform news, rumors, leaks, reviews. I already posted about the Packers. Seahawks white throwbacks are coming very, very soon.
Ooh.
Next 48 hours. If not, definitely next week. Same handle as my Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter just because I can, it's easier to type 15 seconds than it is to spend 30 minutes making a video. But feel free to follow me. I have an Instagram. I don't really use it. Kind of keep it personal. Twitter, TikTok. Don't have my MySpace. My MySpace is long gone.
Oh, yeah, mine too.
And YouTube. I'm on YouTube now. Same handle.
Well, congrats on everything that you have going on, and really cool to see you kind of carve out a niche for yourself in this space. And I'll always be rooting for you, my dude, but I won't be rooting for your favorite football team. But thanks for hopping in here, man.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Happy to come back anytime. Love the show. Not so much the team, but Bills Mafia is pretty awesome. So I appreciate y'all. Thanks,
Zach. We'll see you soon. All right, Jerry. I think this is the end of our conversation today, but I'm excited for next week. I'm going to be in Rochester taking in practices. We'll have both me and Jeremy on the ground giving you some firsthand information all of next week. So
I got to ask a question. Do you sign autographs when people see you? Come on,
I
say it.
have.
Say
I
it.
have. Yeah, I
There
have.
you go.
I have. Have you? Come on, Jerry.
The great Joe Marino. I want your autograph, Joe.
I want yours. I signed a hat last year at training camp, and I was like, guys, I mean, there's only so much room on this hat. Why don't you save it for a player? And these kids were like, no, we want you to sign. I was like, man, that's incredible. I've signed some books.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's happened, but not normal to me, man. It's cool that anyone would care. So say hello if you see me next week. And Jerry, you'll be up there sometime, right?
I'll be up there in 2 weeks. Now they'll be out of St. John Fisher, but we're working on going over to One Bills Drive and getting to hopefully get to see a practice over there. Meet Aaron Cromer and the likes.
Sweet. All right. Looking forward to next week. Thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks, Jerry, as always. And go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.